My name is Elena Turner. I'm 26. Last Saturday at 7:18 a.m., I was standing in front of my island cottage on Clearwater Island watching Rowan Wade, my biological mother who abandoned me when I was 7, hand an eviction notice to a sheriff's deputy while telling him I was a squatter who'd been illegally occupying her rental property for the past 3 years. The cottage sat 50 feet from the water, weathered cedar shingles, white trim I'd repainted myself last summer. The ferry had just left the dock, its horn echoing across the bay. I was holding a cup of coffee that had gone cold in my hands. The eviction notice said I had 72 hours to vacate. 72 hours to leave the only home I'd ever truly owned. "I'm sorry, ma'am," the deputy said, handing me the papers. "You'll need to take this up with the property owner. According to county records, this cottage is owned by Rowan Wade, and you're listed as a tenant in violation of your lease agreement." "There is no lease agreement," I said. My voice came out steadier than I expected. "This cottage was left to me. I'm the owner." Rowan smiled. She was 49, wearing white linen pants and a silk blouse that probably cost more than my monthly income. She'd been gone for 19 years, and she looked like she'd spent every single one of them at a spa. "Elena, sweetheart, I know you've convinced yourself of that, but the deed is in my name. It's always been in my name. Your stepfather may have let you stay here out of kindness, but now that he's gone, we need to sort out the legal realities." The deputy looked uncomfortable. "Ma'am, do you have proof of ownership?" I opened my mouth. Nothing came out, because I didn't. I didn't have the deed. I didn't have title insurance paperwork. I had a memory of my stepfather, Marcus, telling me this cottage was mine. I had 3 years of paying property taxes. I had paint receipts and repair bills and a life built inside these walls. But I didn't have papers. "I'll get them," I said. "You have 72 hours," the deputy repeated. He walked back to his boat. The only way off Clearwater Island was by ferry or private vessel, and I stood there watching him go. Rowan stayed. She stayed and looked at my cottage like she was calculating its value. "You've maintained it well. That'll help with the sale price." My face burned. Not with embarrassment. With something hotter, something that tasted like metal. "You're selling it?" "Of course I'm selling it, Elena. It's worth $310,000. I need the money." She said it like it was obvious, like I was stupid for even asking. "I've been very patient, waiting for you to accept reality. But my lawyer says we can expedite this if you're uncooperative." "This is my home." "No, sweetheart. This is my investment property. Marcus may have filled your head with promises, but he didn't change the deed. The cottage was always mine." She pulled out her phone, checked something, then looked back at me with an expression I remembered from childhood, pity mixed with exasperation. "You're 26 years old, Elena. You paint nails for a living. You were never going to be able to afford a place like this on your own. It's time to grow up." Before I go on, if stories about standing up for yourself mean something to you, please hit like and subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from right now and what time is it there. Let me take you back 8 years to the summer I turned 18. Marcus Turner wasn't my biological father, but he was the only parent who ever stayed. He married my mother when I was 3, adopted me when I was 5, and when she left us 2 years later, just walked out one Tuesday morning and never came back. He didn't leave too. He stayed. He raised me. He taught me how to fix a leaking faucet and how to make his grandmother's blueberry pancakes and how to forgive people who didn't deserve it. The summer I turned 18, we took the ferry to Clearwater Island for the first time. The cottage had belonged to his mother, who died the previous winter. It was small, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a kitchen with windows that faced the water. The porch wrapped halfway around, and there was a garden bed overrun with beach grass and wild roses. "This is yours, Elena," Marcus said. We were standing on that porch, watching the sunset turn the water pink and gold. He smelled like coffee and Old Spice, and his hand on my shoulder was warm and solid. "When I'm gone, this place is yours. I'm putting it in writing. You're going to have somewhere that's truly your own, somewhere no one can take from you. Dad, don't talk like that. You're only 54. I'm just planning ahead, kiddo. He smiled. His eyes crinkled at the corners. Promise me something. Promise me you'll always fight for what's yours. Don't let anyone, not your mother, not anyone, make you feel small. You're worth more than that. I promise, I said. Good girl. He squeezed my shoulder. Now let's see if we can get that old stove working. I'm starving. Marcus died 6 years later, at 60, from a heart attack while mowing the lawn. Sudden, final, no warning. I was 24, working at a nail salon on the mainland, barely making rent on a studio apartment. The cottage, his cottage, my cottage, became my refuge. I moved in 3 weeks after his funeral. I quit my mainland job and found work at Serenity Nails, a small salon in the island's only town, population 1,847. I thought I was safe. I thought the cottage was mine because Marcus said it was. Because I'd paid the property taxes for 3 years. Because I'd fixed the porch railing and replanted the garden and learned which floorboards creaked. I was wrong. The first betrayal came on a Thursday afternoon, 2 weeks after the eviction notice. I was at Serenity Nails, working on my fourth client of the day, gel manicure, pale pink, coffin shape. Her name was Patricia Yoon, and she came in every 3 weeks like clockwork. Elena, she said carefully, watching me file her left pinky. I heard something at the post office this morning. I wasn't sure if I should mention it. My stomach dropped. Small island. Everyone knew everything. What did you hear? Linda Morrison said your mother is trying to sell your cottage. She said you've been living there illegally, that you forged documents or something. Patricia's eyes were kind but worried. Is that true? No. I focused on her nail. Perfect angle, smooth edges. The cottage is mine. My stepfather left it to me. Oh, good. Because Linda was telling everyone, and I thought, well, I wanted to check with you first before I believed her. But the damage was done. I could see it in Patricia's face. She believed Linda just enough to ask. And if Patricia was asking, others were too. 3 days later, my boss, Helen Kwan, called me into her office before my first appointment. Elena, we need to talk. Helen was 62, had owned Serenity Nails for 30 years, and had hired me when I was still raw from grief. She'd been kind, patient. She'd let me take time off when I couldn't stop crying during Marcus's memorial service. I got a call this morning, she said. She wouldn't meet my eyes. From a woman claiming to be your mother. She said you're involved in a property dispute, that you've been living somewhere illegally. She said I should be aware that you might have credibility issues. That's not true. I know you, Elena. I believe you. But her voice was tight. But she was very convincing. And she mentioned lawyers. She said if you cause problems, she might need to pursue legal action against anyone enabling your fraudulent claims. She's threatening you? Not directly, but, Helen sighed. Elena, I can't afford legal trouble, I'm sorry. I'm going to need to reduce your hours, just until this gets sorted out. Reduce them to what? 2 days a week. I'd been working 5 days. 5 days at $15 an hour plus tips, which meant roughly $2,800 a month. 2 days meant $1,100. My property tax bill was $420 monthly. Electricity, $85. Ferry pass, $120. Food, gas for the generator when the power went out. The math didn't work. Helen, I'm sorry. She stood up, which meant the conversation was over. It's just temporary. But we both knew it wasn't. I worked my 2 days. I smiled at clients. I shaped nails and painted perfect lines and pretended my hands weren't shaking. At night, I sat in the cottage and looked through Marcus's filing cabinet, searching for the deed, the will, anything that proved this place was mine. I found photos. I found tax returns. I found a birthday card he'd written me when I turned 21. Elena, you're going to do amazing things. I'm so proud of you. I didn't find proof. On a Tuesday morning, 3 weeks after the eviction notice, Rowan came to Serenity Nails. I was with a client, acrylic fill, French tips, when the door chimed. I looked up. Rowan was standing there in white again, this time a pantsuit, heels that clicked on the linoleum. She wasn't alone. 2 women flanked her, both around her age, both dressed like they'd just come from a country club. Elena, Rowan's voice carried across the small salon. 4 nail stations, 3 occupied. Helen at the front desk. Everyone turned to look. We need to talk. I'm with a client. This won't take long. She walked closer. Her perfume reached me first. Something expensive and floral that made my throat tight. I've been trying to reach you. You're not returning my lawyer's calls. My client, Jessica Chen, 34, elementary school teacher, went very still in her chair. I don't have anything to say to your lawyer. You're making this harder than it needs to be. Rowan's voice softened, became gentle, concerned. Sweetheart, I know you loved Marcus, but clinging to this fantasy isn't healthy. The cottage belongs to me. It's been in my name since before you were born. That's not true. It is true. I have the deed. I have tax records going back 28 years. I've been patient because I know you're grieving, but you're forcing me to take legal action. Is that really what you want? Jessica was staring at her nails. Helen was frozen behind the desk. The other 2 clients had stopped talking. The whole salon was listening. Marcus left the cottage to me, I said. My voice was calm. Too calm. Like I was watching myself from somewhere outside my body. He told me it was mine. Oh, Elena. Rowan's eyes filled with tears. Actual tears. She reached out like she might touch my arm, then stopped. I wish that were true, I really do. But Marcus was sick at the end, you know that. He was confused. He probably thought... He wasn't confused. He was dying. And he wanted to make you feel secure. But he couldn't legally give you something that wasn't his to give. Rowan turned to her friends, including them in the moment. This is why I came myself. I wanted to explain in person, face to face, why this has to happen. Elena, you can stay in the cottage until it sells. I'm not heartless, but you need to accept reality. One of her friends nodded sympathetically. Something inside me hardened. Not broke, not cracked, just turned to stone. I need you to leave, I said. Elena, you've been gone for 19 years. You don't get to call me sweetheart. You don't get to cry about this. Leave. Rowan's tears vanished. What replaced them was cold and sharp. You're exactly like your father, you know. Stubborn, delusional, unable to face facts. She picked up her purse from where she'd set it on the counter. Fine. We'll do this the hard way. My lawyer will file for immediate eviction. You'll be out in 30 days with or without your cooperation. She left. Her friends followed. The door chimed. The salon was silent. Jessica cleared her throat. Elena, I'm so sorry. It's fine. I picked up her hand, focused on the nails. 2 more to fill. Smooth the surface, apply the acrylic, shape, file. Mechanical, practiced, safe. Helen didn't say anything, but the next day, my schedule was down to 1 day a week. I went home that night and sat on the cottage porch until the sun went down. The water was calm. The ferry horn sounded at 6:30, then again at 8:15. My phone buzzed with texts I didn't read. At 9:47 p.m., I walked to the garden bed and started pulling weeds. Not because they needed pulling, because I needed something to do with my hands, something that felt like control. I found the box by accident. A metal lockbox, buried 6 inches deep beneath the wild roses, wrapped in plastic. My fingers hit it when I was digging out a particularly stubborn root. It was the size of a shoebox, rusted at the corners, locked. There was a piece of duct tape on the top with 4 words in Marcus's handwriting. For Elena. When ready. My hands shook as I carried it inside. I didn't have a key. I used a screwdriver to pry the lock, and after 4 minutes of careful work, it popped open. Inside, an envelope addressed to me, a USB drive, and a smaller envelope labeled Deed, Original. I opened the letter first. Elena, if you're reading this, then I'm gone. And Rowan is doing exactly what I knew she would do. I'm sorry, kiddo. I'm sorry I couldn't stop this before it started. But your mother doesn't know about preparation. She never did. The cottage has always been yours. I had my lawyer, Daniel Reeves, transfer it into your name when you turned 18. The original deed is in this box. The copy on file with the county is fake. I left it in Rowan's name to keep her from contesting the real transfer. I knew if she thought she owned it, she'd leave you alone while I was alive. The USB drive has recordings. Your mother and I didn't officially divorce until you were 15. Before that, we had conversations. Conversations where she admitted she signed away custody of you in exchange for the cottage deed staying in her name. She chose property over you, Elena. I recorded it because I knew someday you'd need proof. Daniel Reeves has copies of everything. His office is at 847 Harbor Street in Bellingham. He's been waiting for you to call. The safe word is beach roses. You're not squatting. You're not illegally occupying anything. You're home. In your home. And nobody, not even your mother, can take that away. I love you, kiddo. I always did. I always will. Dad, because that's what I am, papers or not. I read it 4 times. My hand stopped shaking somewhere around the second read. By the fourth, I was numb. I opened the deed envelope. There it was. Property transfer dated 8 years ago, transferring full ownership of 442 Clearwater Lane from Marcus Turner to Elena Turner. Notarized, recorded, legal. The USB drive had 17 audio files. I listened to the first one. Rowan's voice. I don't care about the kid, Marcus. I never wanted a kid. You keep her, I keep the cottage, and we both move on with our lives. I didn't listen to the rest. I called Daniel Reeves at 7:03 a.m. the next morning. A receptionist answered, and when I said beach roses, she transferred me immediately. Elena. Daniel's voice was warm, familiar somehow, even though we'd never met. I've been wondering when I'd hear from you. Your father told me to wait until you reached out first. He said you'd need to be ready. I'm ready. We met that afternoon at his office in Bellingham. I took the 11:30 ferry, clutching the metal box in my lap. Daniel was 58, gray-haired, with glasses, and a grandfather energy that made me want to cry. He reviewed everything. The deed, the recordings, the fake deed on file with the county that Rowan had been using to claim ownership. Your father was very thorough, Daniel said. He knew Rowan would come for this cottage the moment he died. So he created a paper trail that would protect you and trap her. The forged lease agreement she filed? That's fraud. The eviction notice? Filed under false pretenses. She's been claiming to be the owner for 3 months, collecting documentation, positioning herself to sell. All of it illegal. What do I do? We wait. Your father's instructions were very specific. We let her make her move publicly. We let her back herself into a corner. And then we present the evidence in a setting where she can't run and can't manipulate the narrative. When? Soon. She's planning to sell the cottage, which means she'll need to present documentation to potential buyers. I've been watching. She's scheduled a showing this Saturday at the Clearwater Island Farmers Market. She's set up a booth to display photos and property information. She'll have buyers there, witnesses, the whole community watching. She's selling my cottage at the farmers market? It's a small island. Everyone shops at the market. It's perfect exposure. Daniel smiled grimly. And it's the perfect place to expose her. Public. Documented. No escape. I spent the next 4 days preparing. I worked my one shift at Serenity Nails. I avoided phone calls. I practiced what I would say, then practiced saying nothing because Daniel told me the evidence would speak for itself. On Saturday at 9:22 a.m., I walked to the Clearwater Island Farmers Market. It was held in the community center parking lot every weekend, May through October. 30 vendor booths, maybe 200 people milling around, buying fresh produce and homemade jam and hand-knitted scarves. Rowan's booth was in the center, impossible to miss. She'd printed professional photos of the cottage, exterior, interior, the view from the porch. A sign read, Island Paradise, $310,000, motivated seller. She'd set up a table with information packets and a guest book for interested buyers. She was wearing cream-colored linen and talking to a couple in their 40s, pointing at the photos, gesturing enthusiastically. She looked happy, confident, completely in control. I stood 20 feet away and waited. Daniel Reeves appeared at 9:38. He wasn't alone. He'd brought a notary, a county recorder's office representative, and Sheriff Deputy Martinez, the same deputy who'd served me the eviction notice. Ms. Wade, Daniel said, approaching Rowan's booth. I'm Daniel Reeves, attorney for Elena Turner. We need to discuss your attempted sale of 442 Clearwater Lane. Rowan's smile did not falter. I'm sorry, who? Elena Turner, the actual legal owner of the property you're attempting to sell. The couple Rowan had been talking to stepped back slightly. Other shoppers started gathering. Small island, free entertainment. I think there's been a misunderstanding, Rowan said smoothly. My daughter has been living in my cottage, but she's not the owner. I have the deed right here. She pulled out a folder, withdrew a document. See? Rowan Wade, sole owner since 1998. That's an interesting document, Daniel said. Unfortunately, it's fake. The gathering crowd went silent. Excuse me? The deed currently on file with Pierce County listing you as owner was intentionally never updated when the property was legally transferred to Elena Turner 8 years ago. The original owner, Marcus Turner, executed the transfer on Elena's 18th birthday. Here's the actual recorded deed. He handed papers to the county recorder's representative, who examined them carefully. Rowan's face went white. Marcus couldn't have. He did. Notarized transfer, properly recorded with the county, all legal requirements met. You're not the owner, Ms. Wade. You've never been the owner since that transfer date, which means the eviction notice you filed, the lease agreement you forged, and this attempted sale are all fraudulent acts. I didn't forge anything, Rowan's voice rose. The couple she'd been talking to backed away further. More people gathered. I counted 43 witnesses now. Elena is confused. She's grieving. She doesn't understand how property law works. I understand perfectly, I said. My voice was quiet but carried. Marcus left the cottage to me on my 18th birthday. You abandoned us when I was 7. You have no legal claim. I'm your mother. No, you're not. You're a woman who gave birth to me and left. That's different. Rowan turned to Deputy Martinez. Are you going to let her talk to me like this? I'm the victim here. She's been squatting in my property, and her lawyer is harassing me. Ma'am, Deputy Martinez said carefully, if what Mr. Reeves is saying is accurate, you filed a false eviction notice and attempted to defraud Mrs. Turner out of her legal property. It's not her property. Daniel handed another document to the deputy. This is the forged lease agreement Ms. Wade filed with the county, claiming Elena was a tenant. Elena Turner has never signed a lease. This signature was forged. We've had it analyzed by a documents examiner. The report is here. The deputy read it. His expression hardened. There's more, Daniel continued. Marcus Turner recorded conversations with Ms. Wade over the course of their separation. Conversations where she explicitly stated she was abandoning Elena in exchange for keeping her name on the cottage deed. Here's a transcript from one of those conversations. He held up a paper, read aloud. I don't care about the kid, Marcus. I never wanted a kid. You keep her, I keep the cottage, and we both move on with our lives. That's your voice, Ms. Wade, recorded on August 3rd, 16 years ago. The crowd was completely silent now. Someone's phone was recording. Patricia Yoon was there, her hand over her mouth. Helen from Serenity Nails stood near the produce booth, watching. Rowan's face cycled through emotions: shock, fear, anger, calculation. Those recordings are illegal. You can't use them. Washington is a two-party consent state, but Marcus informed you he was recording. It's documented in the transcripts. You consented. The recordings are legal and admissible. Daniel looked at Deputy Martinez. Ms. Wade has committed multiple acts of fraud: filing false documents with the county, forging signatures, attempting to unlawfully evict the legal property owner, and now attempting to sell property she doesn't own. Rowan looked at me, really looked at me for the first time since she'd come back. I saw the moment she realized she'd lost. Her eyes went hard. "You ungrateful little—" She stopped herself, but not fast enough. The crowd had heard. "After everything I've done for you, I carried you for 9 months. I gave birth to you. And this is how you repay me? By humiliating me in front of the entire island?" "You abandoned me," I said. "And then you tried to steal my home. I didn't do this to you. You did this to yourself." She opened her mouth, closed it, looked at the crowd, at the deputy, at Daniel. She was trapped. Everyone could see it. "This isn't over," she finally said. "Actually," Deputy Martinez said, "it is. Ma'am, I need you to come with me to answer some questions about the fraudulent documents you filed." Rowan grabbed her purse. She looked at me one more time. "You'll regret this." "No," I said. "I really won't." They escorted her away. The crowd stood in silence for almost 30 seconds before the whispers started. Patricia Yoon came over, hugged me without asking permission. Helen followed, tears in her eyes. "I'm so sorry," Helen said. "I should have believed you. I should have—" "It's okay," I said, and I meant it. I took down Rowan's booth, folded up the photos of my cottage, gathered the information packets, dismantled the whole display. Daniel helped. We worked in silence, and when we were done, he handed me a final envelope. "Your father wanted you to have this after. He wrote it the week before he died." Inside was a single piece of paper. "Elena, I hope you didn't need any of this. I hope I'm wrong about Rowan, and she left you alone. But if you're reading this, then I was right. And I'm glad I prepared. You fought for what's yours. That's all I ever wanted. For you to know your own worth and refuse to be small. The cottage is paid off. The taxes are manageable. You've got somewhere solid beneath your feet. Live well, kiddo. That's the best revenge. Love. Dad." 3 months later, Rowan pleaded guilty to filing false documents and attempted fraud. She was sentenced to 18 months probation and ordered to pay $8,500 in legal fees. She left Clearwater Island and, as far as I know, hasn't come back. I still work at Serenity Nails. Helen gave me back my full schedule plus a raise. I still live in the cottage on Clearwater Lane, 50 feet from the water, with the porch I painted and the garden I tend. I planted new roses in the bed where I found Marcus's box. They bloomed yellow last month. Sometimes I sit on the porch at sunset, drinking coffee that's actually hot this time, and I think about the difference between people who give and people who take. Marcus gave me a home, a name, 19 years of stability, and a safety net I didn't know existed until I needed it. Rowan took 9 months of her life and then spent 19 years trying to take even more. If you're watching this and someone has ever made you feel like you don't deserve what's yours, whether it's property, respect, peace, or just basic human dignity, type "I deserve better" in the comments. Or if you're still fighting to prove your worth to someone who'll never see it, type "I'm done proving." Both are acts of courage. Both matter. If this story meant something to you, check the description for more stories just like this one. Thank you for being here. A letter came last week. No return address, but I recognize the handwriting from old photos. Rowan's sister, my aunt, who I've never met. It said, "Your mother told me what happened. I just wanted you to know, Marcus loved you more than anything. We all knew it. I'm sorry she tried to take that from you. I keep it in the metal box along with Marcus's letters. Not because I need validation, but because sometimes it's good to remember that even in families that break, there are people watching, people who see the truth, people who wait for the right moment to say, I saw what happened. I'm glad you're okay. And I am okay. I'm better than okay. I'm home.